There is nothing that can happen to me without God's permission. And if he allows it, then it's good for me, even unto death. And that's how I've chosen to live my life, and that's how I've chosen to lead our team.
Welcome back to InGrace. We have a lot of stuff coming in from Israel. We were just filming in Israel for 2 weeks, a lot on archaeology, and that's one of my passions. And we were able to film with Dr. Scott Stripling, the provost of the Bible Seminary. And also, we were digging with a good friend of ours who's been on InGrace, Shelley Neese, who works with Christian and Jewish organizations to create the friendships and foster those. And when we left Egypt, we left all of the Associates for Biblical Research dig team in the dust. We said, bye, see ya, and we started heading to Egypt. But we're going to talk to Scott Stripling and Shelley Neese right now and find out what's happening in Israel, how are they going to be evacuating, and get an update. So, Scott and Shelley, good to see you.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Sorry we just left you like that.
Well, we could tell it was really tearing you up when you drove away.
I know I had my coffee and I'm like, bye, so. Okay, so you guys are still in Jerusalem right now?
Yes.
Shelley, give me your feelings toward being underneath so many massive rockets and drones. Like, what is it feeling? How are you doing?
Well, Jim, I'm nothing if I am not a pro-Israel Christian and someone who wants to ally with Israel and walk beside Israel during these tough times. And so I actually found it a lot harder to not be in Israel after October 7th than I'm finding it right now to be in the thick of it with Israel. I just like being here. I like praying for Israel, like understanding the situation more. It's one thing to be back home and watching the news and just hearing just only the smoke signals and the alarms from what you see on the news, but being here and seeing Israelis go about their daily lives, but also take caution and not be cavalier. And so I've actually been encouraged to be here, and I'm glad that I can be a part of this moment with Israel.
Yeah, Karen and I were with you guys just the day before, Thursday night, and then our flight was early Friday morning, and we almost got to the airport right when they closed it. But when I got back to Jerusalem, I just had this feeling of, well, first of all, Lord, you're in charge. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of times in life we don't have control. None of us knew exactly that this was going to happen. But I also felt a sense of like honor, like I get to experience a very historical moment in Israel. Now, our church, all of our people were like beside themselves. Let's get Pastor Scudder and Karen out. Let's call the embassy and all this. And we're like, no, we got this, But you guys decided to stay for an extra week. Scott, why are you still there?
Jim, I'm on a mission. I came here because I knew God wanted us to be here. We knew there was a war going on. The 135 volunteers who came with us knew this possibility existed. And the fact that this broke out in the way that it did, maybe it caught us by surprise a little bit, but it didn't catch God by surprise. And I just have confidence in his sovereignty. And I knew that God wanted us to respond out of fear, not out of faith, not out of fear. And I saw people around me initially being gripped by fear. And I knew we had to overcome that by the word of God and by the confidence that God had given us. And so I just told our team, no one's required to do anything, but I'm going to Shiloh. We're going to finish the work that we came here to do. And we're going to use wisdom. We're going to follow God's guidance each step along the way. And in reality, I think that's the best thing for people's mental health in a time of crisis is to stay in a productive mode. Don't hide, don't let fear overcome. And that's what we did, and it worked out great. We were able to work the 3 additional days that we needed to finish the excavation, close out the season well. And yes, we have had rockets flying overhead. We've seen them shot out of the sky at Shiloh and at Jerusalem from our balconies. But I think our whole team has now adopted the same mindset that we are operating out of faith and not out of fear. And now we have a pathway home. We've already sent two what I'm calling a reverse exodus, 2 groups through Egypt to Cairo. And now I'll be leading the final group this Saturday.
I felt when we were fleeing to Egypt, our Savior did this when he was a baby.
Yeah.
And there are times when, I felt like Egypt was the only option because Amman and Jordan, they were the rockets were flying over Amman, and I just really didn't think they would actually continue the flights. Now they have surprised me. They must have some very stellar pilots in Royal Jordanian Airlines, because they've continued to fly, but I felt like that was risky, and Egypt was a much better option. Plus, you guys are into archaeology. Scott, of course, this is your life and your passion. Shelley, you are earning a master's. You're actually required to be on this first dig of your life.
Yeah.
So what did you think, Shelley, being on a dig during a pretty massive and historic war?
Right. Well, so don't remind Dr. Stripling that technically I still owe 3 days of excavation to get my credit for this.
Hey, he should be giving you like this amazing score and extra credit, okay? So be easy on her, Scott.
That was the first thing I thought whenever they said that we had to call the dig on Wednesday. I'm like, oh no, I hope I still get credit. But I mean, there's been a lot of logistical challenges. Like Dr. Stripling is making it look like it's been a nice and easy transition to call the dig and get 3 rounds of 60 people in different waves to Cairo. But I ask him almost every day if he's stressed, and he's always like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm not stressed, but it's a lot of logistical challenges. I can tell nothing like this is easy. I mean, you're getting people visas and getting through the Egyptian border. And even if Cairo is our safest and option, and that's with a lot of trial and error of us thinking about all the different options, it's still not the easiest option. I mean, Jim, like, it's a long drive. The Egyptian border is very tough. And at this point, though, you're right. A lot of archaeological students would be disappointed now if we don't get to spend a day in the Cairo Museum and see the pyramids. So I think if we had to pull the Amman plug now, it would be a disappointment for some people.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, it's Cairo is a dream for archaeologists and students of biblical history and stuff, and that's kind of cool to get a little sight. You know, Egypt is Egypt. It's just, to me, it's very annoying because everyone kind of wants to express their control and their power, and they want their bribes and stuff. It's just, crossing the Tabo border took us forever because they took our camera gear. Now you wouldn't have some of that stuff that we had to worry about. Although we did leave a whole suitcase full of gear there in the room that you're in right now. Hopefully it's still there. We knew we couldn't bring the drone. The drone is like forbidden in Egypt. So we have a drone. If anyone needs a drone there at Shiloh.
Oh, don't worry, we've been using it.
I'm sure you have. Yes. But even like in the worst situations of life, we can still see God and we can still see blessings. And I think that, some of those experiences you guys will have driving through the Sinai Peninsula is pretty remarkable too.
Well, one thing we've decided to do is God's got this, and we know that. Romans 8:28 tells us that we believe in God's sovereignty, but I wanted to turn a negative into a positive. And so when we head out on Saturday, we have Sunday designated to go to the pyramids, the new Egyptian museum, and then we're flying out on Monday. And so our team's actually pretty excited about how the adventure is going to end now. And again, we didn't know this, but God did know, and he's guided our steps, I believe.
I know we filmed with Shiloh. We filmed at Shiloh with you on Thursday, and all of this happened on Friday morning. So give me like the wrap up. What's your feeling on this season? Is it 5?
7.
Oh,
season
sorry.
7. You've been with us with 5 of them.
I know. I thought it was all about me, but yeah.
Sometimes it is, but not in this
most
case.
of the time. Yeah.
It was season 7 was fantastic. We made tremendous progress in the building we believe is the Tabernacle. We now believe we have the southern wall of the Tabernacle building. We're essentially finished excavating the Favisa. The gate complex is just coming alive. So I'm feeling like 3 more seasons of excavation, and we'll finish this important excavation and be able to then tell the world the story of Shiloh.
And we were able to shadow both of you this year. We filmed it a little differently, and we'll have that coming out on our InGrace Israel YouTube page soon. And the stars of this episode is Scott Stripling and Shelley. Shelley, I think you're definitely the bigger star than Scott. But this is your first dig, Shelley. So give me your reaction. First of all, was it as hard as you thought it would be? And then any cool discoveries that you might have come across?
Right. The first answer is yes, it was as hard as I thought it would be. Not in terms of temperature, we actually had a pretty great
Mm.
couple of weeks, with just beautiful mornings at Shiloh, and, it's one thing to work in heat, and it's another thing to work in temperate weather.
Mhm.
I think the hardest thing was just the chronic swallowing of dirt. I actually felt ready cardio-wise, and I like to move rocks, and I told Dr. Stripling all the time, I just tried to get in an exercise mindset about it, and then I would want to lift more goofas, I also often felt like a coal miner and just that I was breathing in dirt while we were dry sifting. So, next time I'm gonna have to breathe through my nose or something, but no, and in terms of finding things, I'm new to archaeology, and so even just the process, I wanted to get it right, so I think I asked a lot of questions in the first few days, and Tommy, my square supervisor, would usually say, "No, that's just an interesting looking rock," and then so you start to just get a little bit better about discerning what's bone, what's tessera, what's diagnostic pottery, just meaning pottery that is worth keeping and telling us a little bit more about the site, so I think the standard is to ask questions just nonstop for the first 3 days, and then you start to get the hang of it.
And Scott, you often quote a Bible verse about dust and stones.
Yeah. Psalm 102:14. Blessed are those who love your dust and cherish your stones. And for me and for my team, this is an honor to be able to excavate a sacred site, a site that is central to Israel's history, to redemption history. Is just so meaningful to us. And the bone deposit that speaks of the sacrificial system and the shedding of blood to cover man's sins. And it's very technical and, as you know, very academic that we get into, but there's another side of that. That's the human side that's extremely meaningful to me and to all of our team. And that's why these people sacrificed to be here. That's why they've stuck with us through this. I mean, any of them could have bailed through this, and no one has. We've stayed together as a team, and it's because we believe that it really is important.
And when you're loving the dust, so you're literally it's in every, part of your body. So it's just
Well,
you're
okay. You can edit this out if you want, but when we blow our
I
nose at
probably
the end
should
of the day,
stop you right now before you say
okay.
that.
Oh, that's early Roman. Oh no, that's the Hellenistic.
A friend has been bringing Q-tips down to dinner for me just to make sure I can do an ear clean, each night because I forgot to bring those. But certainly the people that come on this are so unique. I mean, this is a very stressful situation, and you're having to deal with, communicating with family back home, and then also just make your own big decisions that if you're not used to traveling internationally, especially under conflict and under pressure, that everyone is just held up so well, and there's
Yeah.
Christians that are also very passionate about their faith, but also just curious about the world and about travel and, very just flexible. Like, flexibility has gotta be an extra spiritual gift, and then certainly in this kind of case it is, and so I've been real proud of just seeing how the team has been relying on the Lord and still friendly and kind with each other.
How have your families reacted? Are they worried about you guys?
You go first.
Mine is yes, on a human level, yes, but in the bottom line is my wife, my children, they just know this is who I am and this is what God's called me to do, and they're totally supportive. But there's a side of them that, of course, when they're watching this stuff on CNN or Fox News or whatever, it comes across kind of as worst case scenario. And of course, it is a serious situation. It's a very serious situation. I spent the morning in Tel Aviv. I had to wrap up some pot work with our ceramicist there, sort of going into the belly of the beast, so to speak. But they're concerned, but they're also totally aware that I've taught them this, and we have lived our lives this way. That there is nothing that can happen to me without God's permission, and if He allows it, then it's good for me, even unto death. And that's how I've chosen to live my life, and that's how I've chosen to lead our team.
Mm.
Mhm.
And your family, Shelley?
Well, when we came here, we're still living in a post-October 7th world. There's still a war going on in Gaza. So it's not as if when we made the choice to come here, I made the choice to come here, that it was a time of peace in Israel. So it is just insane that this is a war that we have talked about for 20 years. Israel dealing with the Iranian threat has been a headline for 20 years. So the idea of being here in this moment when Israel's making the world a safer place and the Iranian nuclear problem will be resolved is not what I anticipated at all. It's not the war that I already knew that I was going to be coming here and risking being here at the same time. But my husband and I lived here during the second intifada, so he's fine. I mean, he's lived in Israel during difficult times. My mother said that during those 4 years, she prayed Psalm 91 almost every day. So I know she's already told me she's praying Psalm 91 again. Here we are 20 years later, and I'm testing her faith again. But and my kids thankfully don't watch much news. So for the most part, everything's fine. I think that the only moment of a little bit more knowing that it was probably time to go home was our very last day of the dig while we were wrapping things up. All of our phones started going off with the home front command saying, incoming missiles near you. And then we hear the siren, which I'm pretty sure people don't routinely hear sirens at Shiloh. You're out in the middle of a field. And some of us hid in the shelter, which is sort of our makeshift storage shelter. This guy continued to wash pottery, I'm pretty sure. But that was the only moment that I thought, okay, if the dig wasn't called already, like maybe now the thing that I thought wasn't really possible, missiles flying over Shiloh in the middle of the day, it's happened now.
Well,
So
Scott,
seems like a good closeout.
now I'm getting, and we're live right now, so I'm getting the Zophar app alerts. And I guess you guys are probably getting these right now too. No, maybe you should turn on your phones because
I silenced my
if you hear sirens, just get into shelter. But with Scott's head, it's so hard. If a missile hit him while he was washing pottery, I feel bad for the missile.
I would too, actually. We have a dear friend who had shrapnel from a missile shot down just right next to his house. And so, it is a dangerous situation. And we know there are people who are going to get hurt. And we're just praying that it's redemptive, that out of this, that God's will be accomplished.
Yeah. So you kept digging. Do you think any other digs kept going? Like,
No.
I was going to say,
No, we were told.
I can't imagine anyone else but, Bible believing Christians that we know where we're going, and like God is called you guys there. I respect it. I think that's amazing that you guys continue.
Well, I already had the highest respect for our team and their commitment. And I mean, these people have been with me through thick and thin, and we'll just add this one to the list. But the Antiquities Authority will always joke when there's a group of people around, they'll get everyone's attention and say, here's Scott, and he and his group are the only ones to ever excavate in the snow in Israel, which is true. And I guess now we'll add this to the list because they said you're now the only ones to ever excavate during war in Israel.
Amazing. Well, listen, we want you all to stay safe. Thanks for giving us an update. I'm excited about all the finds. We have a show coming out all about it, so we don't want to spoil it, but just amazing that you guys are, and we got to do it, uncovering dirt and objects that no one has seen since Eli and Samuel and Hannah. It's like, to me, that's so amazing, and that you guys got to do it at a historic moment in world history and in prophetic history. It's awesome, and that you guys just stayed the course. So we're gonna pray for your exodus, your reverse exodus, and God bless you guys. Appreciate it.
We're grateful, Jim. Appreciate you and all of the folks that are part of the InGrace family.
We'll make sure your drone gets back to you.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe.
I appreciate it. Yeah, why don't you put it in your suitcase and see if you can get it into Egypt for me. All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jim.
Just after speaking to Shelley, we learned sadly that the hospital, the Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba, had been hit by an Iranian missile. Shelley notified me of this, and she was so upset. She couldn't talk about it without crying. The reason is because Shelley and her husband Brian lived in Beersheba and were very involved in the Soroka Medical Center because that's where Brian received his medical training through the Air Force as a doctor. It's unbelievable to me that Iran would hit a hospital with a missile, and it once again shows the wickedness of the regime. Fortunately, no one was killed, but many were injured. And we need to continue to pray for all those victims and Beersheba. A few days after that, Scott, Shelley, and the rest of the associates for biblical research team that were digging at Shiloh boarded a bus in East Jerusalem and headed south to Elat to evacuate through the Taba crossing and go to Cairo. The drive was long, but they ended up being safely in Cairo in time to be able to go and see some artifacts and the incredible pyramids of Giza. Scott, Shelley, and the rest of the ABR team have now flown out of Cairo and are safely en route to the United States.
Well, what an amazing interview talking to Dr. Scott Stripling and Shelley Neese, and they're both full of joy, even in the midst of a crisis, in the midst of conflict and missiles and drones over their heads. I think they have the proper perspective. You do whatever you can to stay safe, but they all felt like, hey, we're in God's will, and let's finish the task that God has given us. And I also think that the work that they're doing is helping the cause of biblicists, those that believe the Bible is reliable, the Bible is an accurate historic document. Of course, we know it's so much more than that. But academia is against that position. They say the Bible's not accurate, you can't trust it. Scott and his team and the ABR folks, Associates for Biblical Research, are countering that by just simply digging, and they're finding things that line up exactly with what the Bible says. The Bible says there was a tabernacle in Shiloh for over 300 years, that there was this person named Eli, a high priest, that died in the gate of Shiloh, and they found the gate. They found this vavisa, this sacred deposit of animal bones, all kosher, mostly from the right side of the animals, with these other very expensive objects of gold and silver, these offerings that people were giving to God. It all lines up with what you read in the Bible. And they continue to do it under these circumstances. It's truly amazing. I respect them, and we need to pray for them. We need to continue to pray for not only them as they reverse Exodus, as they leave Israel soon, but also pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Before we go, let me just remind you that the peace that I found is in Jesus. He's the Son of God who died for my sins on a cross and rose again, and he wants to save anybody. He wants to save you if you'll simply put your faith in him and him alone. We also have a ton of other great videos right here on YouTube. If you want to watch our InGrace Israel YouTube page, we've got videos about the Iranian crisis. We've got a lot of interviews that we're lining up, and we've got more coming. So please continue to watch, subscribe to the InGrace Israel YouTube channel, and also hit the bell, get alerts every time we have a new video. You will be alerted. And if you like this video today, stop what you're doing right now, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. All of these things help the algorithm of YouTube send this video to more people, because we want more people to hear the truth about Israel and the Bible. And then one last thing, we have a great website for you to go to with a lot of other great resources. It's called InGrace.tv. InGrace.tv is where you can find books and videos, and you can also donate right there online. And when you donate, you are paying it forward to make sure more people hear the biblical message, the pro-Israel message. The blessing of Genesis 12:3 would be upon all of us if we continue to tell the truth about Israel and the Jewish people. May God richly bless you and your family, and until next time, shalom.